The layout just celebrated its first birthday, but am I happy with the progress that I've made? Hi everyone, I'm Martin and welcome to another episode of Track Talk. Today we're going to be looking at 4 topics, covering them very quickly and hopefully giving you lots of interesting information and insights. The first topic today is how I make scrubland bushes out of coir. I'm going to be giving you a demonstration of that, showing you how easy that is to do. Second, I will show you how you can use CAD software to create your own super elevation if you have access to a 3D printer. I'm going to talk a little bit about motivation and the kind of modeling mojo, as I've heard people refer to it. And then finally, I'm going to reflect on a year of the layout and look at progress I've made, lessons I've learned, and look ahead to the next year. So let's get stuck right in with some coir bushes. Now, if you saw the last layout update, which I'll link up there, you will see that on some parts, on some embankments on the layout, I've started to put some kind of bramble-like bushes in made out of coir, and I showed you the blocks that it came in. But let's move over to the desk and I will show you very quickly how easy it is to make some really nice looking bushes from that. So let's head over and get going. So here I have some very thin pieces of coir. They've just been torn off a much larger block which it comes in. And the process I use to create kind of scrubland bushes from these is really easy. I would say that if you're modelling winter, then go really light on this and let the kind of the brown shine through. But if you're going for something a bit more summery, then I just use a blast of layering spray or other glue. In here, I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up well, I basically just have a mix of different scatters, a bit of coarse turf and some fine turf. And I think the key here is just a bit of variety. So literally, as you've seen me do with other things, whack a good coat over the top. Show that off. And what I'll do is I'll get a pair of scissors and just snip off some of those kind of outlying branches. And that's perfectly passable to go on the layout. What I'd say is just kind of mix it up. So I'll do one more, but I will use some fine leaf foliage to that just to show you the kind of the difference in the effect. But that's that one there is fine turf with a bit of coarse turf mixed in, a couple of different colours just to give a bit of variety. So for this next one, I'm going to use just a little bit of earth, fine turf, and then I'm going to apply some Gauge Master dark green leaves over the top just to give a bit of a different look. So I blast with a layering spray or any other spray glue. Just a bit of earth just to give that a bit of a coat. And then another quick blast. And then these are our Gauge Master leaves. Simple as that. Now, I think that green looks a little bit too uniform, so what I would then do, just looking at that, is just dull that down a touch. So I've got now burnt grass, fine turf, tiny bit of that, just to create a little bit more variation in that and just to kind of take the edge off that green. Okay, perfect. And hopefully you can see that there is kind of really no wrong combination, so hopefully you can see the difference on camera here. 2 very different colours and kind of feels to those, but they'll both find a home on the layout somewhere. As I say, just get a pair of scissors and snip around those. And it's as easy as that. And I think the key with that is just really to have fun and experiment. Try different things, try different scatters, try different techniques and see what works best for you. At the end of it, I'm sure you'll have lots of cool bushes to put in different places on your layout. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, and that is 3D modeling super elevation. In an upcoming video, I will show you the track laying on the upper layer, and you'll see that I am using super elevation to provide some banking on the corners at either end. That will allow trains to run a little bit faster, but it also looks really cool when they go around bank corners like that. Now, you can buy super elevation from various people. The one I'm aware of is from West Hill Wagon Works. But if you have access to a 3D printer, then you can certainly make them for yourself. And I'm going to give you a very quick demonstration showing you how easy it is to do that. So I'm going to head over to the Tinkercad software that I've shown on the channel before and give you a demo in how to do that. Here we are in Tinkercad, and this is going to be a really easy project. If you've never done anything in Tinkercad, then this is a great way to get started. So we have a shape already for a wedge, which is effectively what our super elevation is going to be. So we're just going to left click that and drag that onto the board here. So using your mouse, using the right button, you can rotate it around. Using the wheel, you can zoom in and out. So what we want to do is we want to get this set to the right size for our super elevation, and that is going to be 30 mil long and 20 mil across. So just by clicking on these corners, you can see you bring up these measurements and you can just change your shape. And for the height, you can see the height is indicated by this line here. Just clicking that and changing the value. So I think the biggest size for super elevation that I've ever seen is with 2.75 mil. So by setting that, you can see you have a very little wedge like that. And if you wanted to, you could stop right there, and that's exactly what I've done with mine. Now, if you wanted to create different size heights, really easy. You can select the object and use duplicate and repeat. Move it across. So you've got a copy of the original object, and then just change the height. So maybe you want to go to one at 1.5, for example. And then again, we can duplicate. Okay, maybe we want one at 0.5. Although that's probably going to be too thin when it comes to printing that out, so maybe 0.75. Okay, and it's really, really that easy. Now, if we want to export these to our 3D printer, we just click on them and hit export. But there's one other thing you might want to do, and that's if you wanted to add a groove in the middle, so a track pin would fit through the middle of it. I don't need to use that on mine, but you may well do. And the easiest way of doing that would be to grab an empty box shape. So grab that onto our work plane. Let's zoom out a little bit. Height doesn't really matter as long as it's taller than our object. And we probably want to make it, about 20 long so that it goes past the midpoint. And then width-wise, let's go for maybe 2.5 mil. If we then kind of pop that in there, and again, you can tweak that as to maybe you wanted to go a little bit thinner on that, or you could even go slightly thicker depending on what tolerance you wanted. If you want to line that up with the middle, you can click that, hold shift and click the other object, and then use this little tool up here to align, and we can align that to the middle, so that's right in the middle of that. Then if we select the two items, holding down shift as we click them, and then use the group item, it will group, when you group a hole with a solid object, it will effectively cut that out of it. So then we have our object. We can then export that to an STL file, and then we can import that into Cura or another program that we use for printing a 3D printer. So yeah, just hit export and then STL. If you're exporting for laser cutting, you use an SVG file, but that's not relevant today. Okay, there you go. Really, really simple first project for you in Tinkercad to create your own super elevation pieces. So go give it a go. And then we have 4 different heights all printed out. And now it took me a while to figure this one out, but if you're sensible, you'll print them out in different colors so that it's instantly recognizable which is which height. I will show you how I use these when I'm laying track in a future video. So I hope you'll agree that that's a really easy process to follow. And if you've never used any CAD software before, then I do recommend going onto Tinkercad, signing up for a free account. Maybe have a go at creating some super elevation for yourself. It's a really easy thing to do. Okay, right. Next topic. That is something that I hear talked about quite a lot, but no one really goes into much detail about it, and that's motivation to keep modeling. I often hear people talking about how they haven't been on their layout for a while because they're lacking motivation or their mojo has gone. And I don't hear much talk about it as a topic, and more importantly, how you can make sure you keep your own motivation at a good level and kind of keep your interest in this hobby. So what I want to do today is just to share a few of my thoughts on this, some of the things that motivate me and some of the techniques that I use to make sure that I can kind of keep my enjoyment levels high on the layout. Now, I'd be really interested to hear all of your thoughts on this, so please do add in the comments anything that particularly motivates you or maybe demotivates you when it comes to modelling. So I like to think of motivation as like the health bar you get in video games. So you're trying to keep that as full as possible, but over the course of the game, or in this case during your kind of modelling experience, that energy bar will go down, things will cause it to deplete, but equally you will find things along the way that kind of push that motivation back up again. And I think that's a nice way of thinking about that, that it's something that will kind of change, and it will change based on external factors. And I think the first step in being able then to manage your motivation and to keep yourself kind of enjoying this hobby is to really understand what some of those things are. So for me, I think the biggest things that kind of demotivate me are repetitive tasks. So behind me is a retaining wall. It's a retaining wall that I think there's about 10 or 11 sections on it so far, and there's going to be probably close to 30 when it's finished. Now, if I were working solely on that, that would really demotivate me because it's a very repetitive process. I have to wait till each section is in place to then measure what the next section needs to be, go and adjust that in light burn, cut the pieces on the laser cutter, paint it, seal it, do all the mortar, and then kind of assemble it and glue it all together before then coming over and kind of test fitting it on the layout. And then once you've done that, once you're really happy with one of those sections, you then have to go back and start that process all over again. And that kind of really demotivates me. And likewise, when I was casting sections for the tunnel, that was a very repetitive process that I had to do kind of very sequentially. I couldn't batch things up. And again, that took a hit on my motivation. Something else that demotivates me is not being able to run trains. So I really enjoy just coming out here, sitting down, switching off from the world and just kind of letting the trains run around. And if I can't do that, then I find that that's kind of, again, is kind of a demotivation to me to actually get stuck in and do some work on the layout. And I guess my final kind of demotivating thing is where there's a big job, where I know I've got to really focus on something, and it's maybe something I'm not particularly, that I don't particularly enjoy. And again, that can be something that then kind of dissuades me from actually working on the layout and kind of maybe encourages me just to sit and kind of play some trains rather than actually getting on with any work. So I think once you understand what demotivates you, then you can start to think about what are the things that motivate you. And I think then if you kind of regulate those two things, you can maintain your interest in the hobby and kind of particularly working on the layout. For me, I think the biggest motivating thing for me is watching other people on YouTube doing things to improve their layouts. Seeing some great videos on YouTube, and some of the videos that I know that some of you watching this make really motivate me to come out here. I see you making great progress, doing things that I would love to kind of copy and to bring onto the layout here, and that kind of really inspires me to get out here. And I think that's kind of my biggest factor that sitting and watching an episode of Chadwick or Everard Junction or any of the numerous channels that I regularly watch kind of really fires me up. Then also, I think if I use that enthusiasm, I'll come and then tackle a big or a difficult task, or my enthusiasm and motivation's at a really high level. I think that's kind of another key thing. Other things that motivate me, the feedback I get from you guys from these videos, that kind of really motivates me to keep progressing with the layout, because I know that some of you are interested to see the progress and things that are happening on it. And also, I think I mentioned that not being able to run trains is a demotivating factor, but also it reaches a certain point that then it becomes motivating. That if it sounds a bit odd when you kind of say it like that, but if I've not been able to run trains for an extended period of time, that will really motivate me to come out here and to fix the thing that's stopping me running trains. Whether that's because I'm in the middle of ballasting a particular section of track or something like that. So they're just some of the things that kind of really kind of fill my energy bar up or deplete it, and I'd be really interested to hear what some of those things are for you guys. And I hope that talking about this subject also helps you to keep motivated yourselves. I never like to hear when someone has taken time off from the hobby because of a lack of motivation. So hopefully if we're kind of more able to kind of think about this and discuss it, that keeps us all kind of working on this fantastic hobby that we all enjoy. Okay, now final topic for today is going to be reflecting on a year of the layout. So it is pretty much exactly a year since I finished off converting this garage that I'm very fortunately allowed to have the railway in, and started building the railway, in fact, with some of the leftover timber from that garage conversion that formed the baseboards that you can see behind me here. And it's been an interesting year. It's been a year full of learning, but am I happy with the progress that I've been making? To slightly paraphrase Douglas Adams in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I will avoid any suspenseful situation that might cause you any stress by revealing that I am actually really happy with the progress I've made over the past year. But I think it's always good to kind of take stock and just think about that. And that's what I've been doing on this kind of first anniversary of the layout. Now, I realise you guys have only had the opportunity to see the layout for the past 6 months, and the first 6 months was very much a kind of a solo and kind of lone exercise, kind of getting it up to a stage where I thought it would be interesting for people to start seeing what I was doing. And over the course of a year, I've therefore gone from an empty room to the layout that you saw in the last update video about a week or so ago. Now, when I started building this, I kind of set myself in my head a time for about 5 years to get this complete. That may be a little bit long, but I think it was a good kind of yardstick for me. And in a year, I've obviously got all of the baseboards built. I've got probably about, I would reckon about half of the track has been laid now, and probably a fifth of the scenics, although that is all the kind of the countryside bits and therefore the quickest and easiest bits of the scenics to do. So I won't kind of over-congratulate myself on that part of it. But I think for me, the biggest thing is that this first year has been very much a learning experience. Before working on this layout, I'd never ballasted a piece of track before. I'd never held anything for doing static grassing. So this build process so far has been one long learning exercise, and I don't think that learning is going to stop anytime soon. But I think some of those core skills that I've been able to at least start to develop in this past year will kind of really help me to make progress going forwards. But from my perspective, getting trains running as early as possible, as I mentioned in the kind of bit about motivation, I think that was a kind of a really key thing. So having the heritage line and being able to run trains around that, I think, is really important to me being able to kind of enjoy and to also to share the layout with you. So yeah, happy birthday. It certainly was. I'm really looking forward to kind of looking back to this point in a year's time and seeing how the layout has progressed. I'm hoping that all of the upper lines will be laid. In fact, I'm hoping that all the track will have been laid by that point. And I'm hoping that the scenics have taken a big step forwards as well. I think the area that will be last, because it's probably the most time consuming, will be the station area at the back. But we will see. We'll see kind of, I think kind of with motivation, kind of part of the, another technique for kind of keeping interested in this is being able to, is having kind of multiple jobs on the go at the same time. So if there's glue drying or there's something happening that takes some time, you can kind of flip onto another job. Likewise, if there's a job like the retaining wall that you know is going to take a long time to do, you can take breaks from that and kind of work on other things at the same time. So again, in the words of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I will say expect the unexpected. Who knows which part of the layout I'll kind of suddenly get an urge to start working on next. But that kind of is part of the interest of it. So thank you all for being kind of part of this journey so far. I realised that you weren't there for the first 6 months, but hopefully you'll be there for at least the next 12 as we make more progress. And I'm going to finish this video off with a couple of running shots just to show you where we've got to, particularly with the scenic areas on this. So after those, there's going to be some links to some other videos and a subscribe button down there. Please do subscribe if you're interested to kind of follow this journey. And obviously, thank you to everyone who has subscribed already. So that just about wraps it up for Track Talk. Please enjoy the running shots, and I will see you on another video soon. Bye-bye.